Hello, I'm Charles Coves. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show. Whether you are watching on Rumble or on YouTube or listening via one of the many podcasting platforms, this is a place for you to be inspired to live a life of passion, guided by your self-awareness about who you are and what you want your life to be. Passion is a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your spirit, your heart that enables you to produce extraordinary results. Greatness can only be achieved through passion. I want you to be great. So let's get into this week's key topics. And I've got a number of key topics, and they all relate to our challenge of being focused and what to focus on, and to understand that your focus determines your power, and power is your ability to achieve anything. Focus. What are you going to focus on? Let me give you some possibilities. Well, the first thing is, I've been focused this week on my birthday. This is my birthday week, and I'd like to thank all of you who sent through messages of happy birthday. It was a happy birthday. Julie looked after me beautifully. I had a great time, family events, and if I haven't said thank you to you personally, I apologize, and I say thank you to you now for many, many good wishes. Now there are so many platforms that we get messages on. I'm sure I have missed some of them, so I apologize again for doing that. Next topic I want to talk about is the Vatican. And last night on Sky News, on the Bolt report, James McPherson reported that the Vatican has installed a prayer room for Muslims at St. Peter's in Rome. This, if it's true, is madness. This is like in a police station setting aside a room for criminals to come and plot their next crime. This shows the depths of corruption within the Vatican, and I've spoken about this previously in terms of the Vatican's silence, and then that message of silence to Catholic churches, particularly in Australia, to absolutely say nothing about the actions of political Islam in Australia and elsewhere. The Catholic Church silence on defending Christian principles is clearly done through the Vatican, clearly corrupt, and I call on all Christians to push back against this movement. Donald Trump. What a series of amazing achievements, and yet I have intelligent friends who can't stand Donald Trump. I think plenty of Australians suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. And what it leads to is he's done so many wonderful things, including closing the border, including getting rid of DEI, including stopping men pretending to be women and competing in women's sports, and many other things. Now, he does some things that people don't like, but to focus on anything that you don't like at the expense of focusing on the good that he's doing, and particularly closing the border and particularly deporting illegals in America, which I think should be happening in Australia and right around the world, to not praise him for the good that he does and only focus on the stuff that annoys, shows this inability to make good decisions, to go, that's a good decision, I don't like that decision, but to then constantly focus on the negative rather than appreciating the positive becomes a pattern in life. I talk to people about many things, and it doesn't matter what good is happening in their life, they will find a reason to be negative. And not many people watching this program would be coming from a negative space. And I urge you constantly to look at your reaction, your response. I learned from politicians, some years ago, this wonderful quote that said, "Perfect is the enemy of good." Waiting for a perfect solution is the enemy of a good solution. Now, one of the solutions that I have to bring to your attention is the Forever Freedom movement and Buttonheart Bear. Buttonheart sits here because Buttonheart is a way to solve the problem of trafficking of children for sex and slavery purposes. Please look at the link in the chat to go to the Forever Freedom movement. This bear is designed to raise the quality of conversation around child trafficking, to understand the horror that it is, and to get people to do something about it. And buying this Buttonheart Bear is one of the ways that each one of us can help to push back against the evils of child trafficking. Now, in Australia, in the Liberal Party, and the Liberal Party in Australia are the Conservatives, are the equivalent of the Republicans, if you like, to some degree, compared to the Democrats, who are the Democrats are the Liberals in America, but they're more left-wing. Republicans are more right-wing. It's a bit of a crazy angle, but Conservatives and what the Liberal Party in Australia, and I've had many years of working for it. I'm no longer a member because it's so hopelessly conflicted. But within the party itself, there's mega conflicts happening. And what those conflicts remind us of is, if you focus on the differences between human beings, we forget what unites us, and we end up in shitfights with each other. And disunity is death is often put as the principle, but a party that is significantly divided within itself is nowhere near as effective as one that works together. Now, in the question of policy, of philosophy, I am a free market person. I am a personal responsibility person. I am deeply committed to encouraging people to do their best, as I do to you on this show, and I want minimal government interference in people's lives. And what I see happening in these machinations that go on, the Liberal Party thinks that half of the Liberal Party thinks they'll get elected if they promise lots of money for nothing. And I go, where do people think this money is coming from? This communistic, this socialistic model of governance. I just don't get it. Money has to come from somewhere, and it comes from people doing stuff. So I'm observing these machinations. I exited the Liberal Party because, in my view, it's hopelessly conflicted. It must split into two separate parties, and then from that split, it's a bit like pruning a tree. New growth will come forward. Next item that is top of my mind is in the United Kingdom, and I think the United Kingdom is in big trouble. Keir Starmer is an outrageously bad Prime Minister, and I've said before that having more than one legal system in a country causes disaster, and the UK presently has 3 legal systems, and it is bad. I'm hoping that the United Kingdom people will wake up and push back against the political Islam actions taking over the UK. It's a serious problem, and people need to talk about it. Fortunately, more people are. I'm talking about it because I don't want political Islam taking over Australia or UK or any other non-Muslim country. Next item that I've talked a lot about in my journey is holding politicians to account. And in the US, with the aggressive nature of the conflict between Democrats and Republicans, it is an interesting thought that the Trump administration is now holding certain Democrats to account for bad behaviours whilst Joe Biden was president. Now think about this. J.B. Pritzker, the mayor of Chicago, has said, you wait till the Democrats get in charge, we will hound those people. That's probably a good thing, because I want politicians who behave badly to be hounded after they leave politics. I want them to be made to pay for their corrupt, unjustifiable decisions. I've said before, incompetence is acceptable. Corruption is not. And so maybe there's real shitfights between the Democrats and the Republicans are going to lead to more politicians saying, I better be careful about what I say and what I do. Watch this space. I want politicians to be held to account, and if they behave badly, I want all their retirement benefits to be taken away from them. Next item is the New York mayoral race. It ties into this question of the communist socialist takeover of certain states and this idea that young people have that the government has endless amounts of money. So vote for the mob that are going to be giving you everything for nothing. Isn't that lovely? A wonderful dream. Give it to me for nothing. I don't have to work. I just live on government welfare. How people can vote for such a model is beyond my belief, and particularly I remind newer viewers that my parents were refugees from Hungary, from communist Hungary in the mid-1940s to get away from communism, and they came to Australia for freedom. And yet, Zoran Mamdani is an absolute avowed communist socialist, and he's leading in the mayoral race. You go, wow, what the hell is going on? What is the thinking that's going on? Next item is the ID, the digital ID that's proposed for Australia, the Brit card for the UK, this whole question of digital identity and keeping track of everything that you do. This is an evil step by the Australian government, by the UK government, by any government that wants to monitor everything that you do. And I think the way to think about the digital ID is this. If they decide that you have bought enough meat this week or this month, you won't be able to use your credit card to buy anything that the government doesn't approve of. Just think of that one issue. That should terrify you. The second example would be buying petrol. That if the government says you can't buy more than 50 litres of petrol a month and your credit card won't work and the only way that you've got to pay for petrol is through credit cards, you will not be able to live life on your terms. And that's what this whole show is about, living life on your terms. Next item, the health system. The health system in Australia and many Western nations is in big trouble. It doesn't work. And during the week, I moderated, as I do, 2 meetings each week for Medical Doctors for COVID Ethics International. And Ian Brighthope shared a wonderful vision of a new health system. One core element of this new health system is to bring integrative health solutions into hospitals. It's a wonderful presentation. If you would like his 53-page proposal on what this new health system would look like, please send me an email, and we'll put the link into the chat, into the show notes of where you can watch Ian sharing his new healthcare system. Tied into that, Ian is an expert on vitamin C, and I've spoken many times about vitamin C, and I do want you to do your own research, but increase your dosage of vitamin C. When you watch Ian Brighthope on the recording for Medical Doctors, he explains the value of vitamin C. Do your research, but please increase your dosage of vitamin C. Most of you are not having enough, and vitamin C is crucial to improving your immune system, which is a core way in which you stay in optimal health. I want to report to you on the Order of St. John of Jerusalem dinner that I organised on Friday, the 3rd of October, where we had Greg Sheridan, the Australian newspaper's foreign editor for the last 40 years. Greg spoke brilliantly to the dinner guests on how Christians can succeed today. You'll see from one of my earlier episodes that I interviewed Greg, and I am all in favour of Australia being governed under Christian principles and for Christians to stand up for Christian principles. But Greg made a wonderful contribution to the Siege of Malta commemoration dinner, and the Siege of Malta occurred in 1565, where the Order of St. John fought against Muslim encroachment into Europe. And it's happening right now as well. That's why commemorating these historical examples of courage in standing up for what we believe as important lessons for us today, to have the courage to stand up for what we want and what we believe. So where that leads to, with this whole string of issues that are happening in life, you then have to make a decision. Well, what am I going to focus on? Am I going to focus on the bad things that are upsetting me, or am I going to focus on the good that is happening in my life? And your focus determines your emotions of how you feel. And emotions, another word for emotions or a description of it, is energy in motion. And if you make a decision to focus on the wonderful elements of your life and not the shitty bits of your life, your emotions will be in a very empowering state. You'll have high energy, and your energy is a crucial aspect of your power, and power is your ability to get anything done. So from all of this litany of challenges that we have, my suggestion is you focus on, wow, how interesting that is, what's good about what's happening, the lessons that we're getting from what's happening, and then to live in this state of embracing uncertainty. Let go of the need to be certain that this is what's happening. Trying to work out what's happening in Gaza and Israel and what's happening in the Ukraine in its war with Russia. What is happening? It's even hard to work out what's happening in the Victorian Labor Party here in Melbourne, let alone these huge global issues. And so I have learned to be comfortable in uncertainty. I have learned that focusing on the wonderful parts of my life empowers me, energizes me, enables me to wake up in the morning willing to embrace the challenges of the lives that we are living, and then to design my life and to let it unfold in the way that I want it to unfold. Inherent in that is to embrace the unfolding new possibilities that you might not be expecting. And then part of the reason why you need to be healthy is so that you've got the energy from good health to be able to roll with whatever punches come along. And remember, if you had no problems, you would be so bored, you would go and create them. So I hope today's ideas have provoked some thinking on your part, and that these new ways of thinking make a beneficial difference to your life, a life that I believe is meant to be all that you are capable of making of it. If you're new to the show, check the links for our foundational principles and my background and our websites, where you can find my books, my passion speeches and programs, and many free resources. Please subscribe to the show, share it with your networks, ask your friends and family to subscribe. It won't cost you anything except the risk of greater passion, greater self-awareness, and a greater enjoyment of life on a day-to-day basis. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until our next show, embrace this gift of life. Embrace the challenges that are before you. Take the opportunity from challenging times to gain a deeper appreciation of who you are and how you want to live life. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye.